Hey friends, it's Jordan here with Credit Matters. Today we're going to talk about what is a credit score and what goes into a credit report. If you're just joining us, Credit Matters is a resource for Canadians designed to inspire and inform, to demystify the credit game and help you succeed on your own terms. Today we're going to talk about what goes into a credit report and how is your credit score calculated. A credit report is essentially a chronicling of your credit history with any organization who has ever extended you credit. For most people, this begins around the same age as the age of majority, the time that you're able to begin to receive credit, say the time you're able to have a credit card or sign up to have your own cell phone contract. That's essentially the time when your credit report is generated. In Canada, our credit reports are maintained by the two credit reporting agencies, Equifax and TransUnion. In the United States, they have a third. They also have those two, but they also have Experian. We do not have Experian here in Canada. Equifax and TransUnion are consumer credit reporting bureaus. They are non-governmental agencies, so they're not the government, nor are they banks, but their sole job is to receive and maintain our credit reports. Both of these organizations also provide an array of different types of paid options for credit monitoring and identity theft, and also offer some education similar to the kind that I'm providing for you. They charge for most of these services, but some are available for free. All Canadians are entitled to receive a copy of their credit report at least once per year, and this is mandated by the government. I'm going to provide a link below for you to access that if you want to access it for free. However, I recommend Credit Karma. That's creditkarma.ca, is a phenomenal resource for Canadians where you can go view your credit report and score entirely for free. And it uses both Equifax and TransUnion to be able to pull that information. Both that service and as well as another service called Borrowell, which are both, with Borrowell being a Canadian, actually Canadian born and bred organization, they exist for educational purposes. They both also provide some tailored recommendations for credit products, including loans and credit cards as well. So your credit report essentially lists every single account that you ever had, the type of account, the credit limit that's been extended to you if it is the form of an installment account, any type of public records or derogatory marks. So for example, if you've ever had an account in collections or a bankruptcy or foreclosure, it's going to list those things. And the credit report will also outlay how long those things will remain on your report, usually for years at a time. Your credit report is also going to have your current information in terms of your residence and contact information, as well as usually your last reported address. The purpose of this is, of course, when you go to look up your own credit report, you're going to need to put in some identifying information, including your address and your birthday, with your SIN number only being an optional thing you can enter. The same is true when others go to pull your credit report. So if you apply for a new credit card with, say, American Express, they're going to ask for your date of birth and your full name, your current address, and it's going to attempt to pull some information and find you from the credit bureaus. Along with your credit report also comes your credit score. Your credit score is essentially a numeric representation of what's going on in your report. It's an at-a-glance look at your creditworthiness for potential lenders. In Canada, scores range from 300 up to almost 900, and obviously the higher the number, the better. Scores between 500 and 650 are generally the lower end of most of Canadian scores, and number 600, 650 up to 800 is the upper end of what scores look like. So of course you want to have a score that is between 650 and 800. Once again, the higher, the better. If your score is below 650, there's probably some reasons why that's true. If your score is above 650, it's probably because you've made a lot of great choices over years, or you got educated early and you were able to take very strategic steps in order to get it there. Otherwise, maybe you're just very lucky. But most people probably have a credit score that sits somewhere in the mid to upper 600s. It takes specific actions to really get it up to an optimal level. There are some different factors that go into calculating your credit score. The number one most important factor is your history of payments. So on-time payments accounts for 35% of your score. It's the single largest weighted factor for your credit score. So this is determined by the number of on-time payments versus the number of total payments. So once again, you want to be able to pay on every single one of your accounts at least the minimum payment by its due date. And you want to be able to do this 100% of the time. This can be very tricky because the way that it's viewed by the credit reporting agencies is literally in degrees between 100, 99, 98, 97, with 100% being the best, obviously. People who pay their bills on time only half of the time, and people who pay their bills on time 95% of the time are more or less considered to be more or less the same by many banks. Why? Because the bank is giving you money in the form of a credit card for you to do things with. They want to have a solid guarantee that you are going to be able to pay back that money, at least the minimum payment, and especially on time. So the goal is to be able to pay it on time absolutely every single time. Once again, this means at least the minimum payment. Sometimes the minimum payment is very enticing to pay. Perhaps you go out and you spend $1,000 and you want to pay the minimum payment over a series of months. You are entitled to do that. You will pay interest. Most credit cards have a rate of interest that is 19.99% or on 20% interest, which is a lot of interest. Understand, by the way, that the minimum payment is there to benefit the banks. It is not there to benefit you. You paying the minimum payment, you're paying majority interest and paying very little principal. So you're actually paying the bank's bills in interest charges, and you're not actually paying down the thing that you bought. So understand, you want to make as large of payments as possible, with the gold standard being able to pay it in full at the end of each month. That's the gold standard. Second most important factor when calculating your credit score is called credit utilization. This accounts for 30% of your score here in Canada. Credit utilization is exactly what it sounds like. If you have a credit card that with a $1,000 limit and you are able to spend $800, you're asked to pay your minimum payment on June 15th. June 15th comes and goes, and you pay your $20 minimum payment, so your balance is $780. Your credit utilization is 78%, which is in the bad category. The goal is to have your utilization below 50% at all times. If not, better than 30, better than 10, or 0 if possible. This is the amount of credit that's extended to you that you have available. As you can imagine, when you go to apply for your next credit product, they want to be able to see that you have not maxed out your cards or used all of the credit that other lenders have extended to you. Why? Because it looks risky. It looks like you can't handle what's given to you. If you already own 3 credit cards, all with a $1,000 limit, and they're all essentially maxed out, and you go to apply for that 4th credit card, they're definitely never going to give you more than $1,000 because they see that you can't handle that amount of money. So the goal is to give potential lenders every reason to believe that you can handle the amount of money that you're being given. So keep your credit utilization as low as possible. Because both different credit bureaus sometimes report different credit scores, and as well, our credit scores fluctuate month to month and across the years, a lot of this has to do with utilization. At 30% of how your score is calculated and how utilization fluctuates based upon how you spend, bringing your utilization down is one of the simplest ways to see a lift in your credit score. The third major impact on your credit score is what's referred to as derogatory marks. So if you have an account that you did not pay either 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and it became that late in arrears, the bank or whatever agency may sell your debt to a third party that is a collections agency whose sole job is to get and extract payment from you, to get you to pay on that debt as much as you can, all of it if possible, if not even a portion. So derogatory marks are horrible for your credit report. So if you have any current collections open, Make it your number one goal. Forget everything else I said today. Make it your number one goal to get the information for that agency, call them up, make a payment arrangement, and get it paid down. The presence of an open collections account on your report will probably prevent you from be approved for anything. You will not be able to get another credit card. You will not be approved for a car loan or an apartment, almost certainly. It looks very bad and very risky to potential lenders. Once again, this is not about judgment. This is about what can you do to increase your score as quickly as possible, how to prioritize the actions you're going to take next. So collections accounts, make that your number one priority, in addition to making on-time payments and lowering your utilization as quickly as possible as you can. Number 4, it's what I refer to as the length and breadth of your credit report. The length of your credit report speaks to the length of your credit history. Once again, to a potential lender, they want to be able to read your credit history like a book. They want it to be a lengthy book for them to be able to see over a long period of time how you've been able to handle your credit. So the longest and the very first account that you had open, usually strategically you want to try and keep that open if possible. So your very first credit card, let's say you had a credit card when you opened when you were 19 years old and now you're 29 years old, you want to keep that card for as long as possible because it's anchoring the beginning of your credit history and helping to increase the length of your overall credit report. Thing along those lines is the average age of accounts. Once again, why is that important? Why is that relevant? Because to a potential lender, if you've applied for a bunch of new credit products recently, it's going to bring down the average age of your accounts. Versus if the majority of your credit products and accounts are older, it's going to increase your average age of accounts and show that you've been more responsible over time. That's about the length of your credit report. The breadth of your credit report speaks to 2 other factors that I talk about often. One is the number of accounts overall. The goal is to actually get to having more than 10 credit products. So we're talking about 10 of these. That's going to take a long time. And you may think, really? Is that really what I want to be doing? It is what you want to be doing. And that's why people in their 40s and 50s are often having better credit products and better credit scores and reports, is because they've had a longer time horizon to be able to get more and better credit products. The goal is to have 10 or more accounts. The other aspect is the types of accounts. You want revolving, installment, and open types of accounts. A revolving account is a credit card, also like a line of credit. It's credit that's been extended to you and you can pay it off and keep using it, so it's revolving. An open type of account is one that does not have a credit limit per se, but you do acquire a balance, you do have a due date and are required to pay at least a minimum. So think about your cell phone bill. That's a very common open type of account that mostly everybody has. A less common in Canada is a charge card. A charge card works like a credit card. You spend an amount of money, but there's no credit limit because you're required to pay that balance in full every single month. And if you do not, there are very serious negative consequences and very high interest to be paid, including having the potential to have your account closed if you don't pay it off in full. But charge cards, there's very few charge cards in Canada, mostly issued by American Express. Third type of account is an installment account. That is one where you have an initial balance, you have a due date and a minimum payment, and you pay that minimum balance over time. Utilization is not reported on this, nor are they able to be reported on open accounts because there's no credit limit. For example, your student loan. You may get your student loan after you're done school, you owe $5,000. You pay it down over time. The only thing that impacts your credit there is your payment history. As long as you're able to pay your minimum payment, on time every single month, then that's a green check mark towards your credit report and score, and it's going to help you out. But it doesn't report utilization because it's not a revolving form of credit. What you need to do is pay your minimum on time every single month. So those are the 3 types of accounts. The 5th and final piece of your credit score is credit inquiries. A credit inquiry is any time that somebody requests to see your credit report in order to make a decision on whether or not to extend you credit. So there are 2 types of credit inquiries. One is referred to as a hard check or hard pull, and a soft check or a soft pull. A hard check is generally when a new creditor is making a decision on whether or not to extend you credit, and they need to look at your credit report because they have no other information and no relationship with you. So for example, if you never have had a credit card with American Express and you go to apply for an American Express credit card, they're going to conduct a hard pull on your credit. Now, why is that relevant and why does that impact your credit? Once again, from a creditworthiness perspective, if you go today and you start applying for 10 different credit cards because you're thinking, Jordan says I need to get to 10 accounts, and you apply for all 10 today, your credit score will be impacted by approximately at least 5 points per hard inquiry. So if you apply for 10 credit cards today, your score is probably going to plummet by 50 points or more today. And those inquiries and impacts generally appear immediately, as in same day or within the next few days. So that's why you want to space out your inquiries and you want to take your time with this. That's what a hard inquiry is. A soft inquiry is the type where if you already have a relationship with a credit card company or a bank, for example, American Express, who I already have a relationship with, when they decide if they want to increase my credit limit or if I want to apply for an additional product, they will take another look at my credit to make a determination. But because they already have information and a relationship with me, it's not going to be a hard inquiry. In most cases, it's going to be a soft inquiry. The same is true when you go to look at your credit with Borrowwell, Credit Karma, or directly with TransUnion and Equifax. You checking your credit with them, you can do that unlimited times. It never impacts your score because it's a soft check. Soft checks do not impact your score, nor do they appear on your report. Hard inquiries will appear as a listing of the most recent hard inquiries on your credit. Once again, it's just to give potential lenders more information on, is this person trying to apply for a whole bunch of products? How risky does that look to them? That's what hard inquiries are all about. So there you have it. That's essentially what goes into a credit report and how your credit score is calculated. In a future video, we're going to definitely talk about if you've taken a look at your credit score and you find that it's low, say between 500 and 650, what to do about that. So friends, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here today and you want to see more, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with people you know, because there's definitely going to be more like this coming. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.